My work is concerned with the intersection of ecology and humanity. I try to approach these complex issues with a very sparse aesthetic. I try to say as much with as little as I can. I use materials that are gathered from the landscape that my work is about, both forms, leaves, and flowers, as well as actual dyes and pigments. Watershed is an exhibition about the greater Flagstaff watershed area. Each of the pieces in Watershed alludes to part of that seasonal cycle that's happening in Flagstaff and how it's been affected and changed by human impacts. And then in the center of the show was a sculpture that was kind of a last-minute addition because as I was working on the project, the museum fire flood happened. And so it was a burned wood monolith salvaged from a wildfire. On one side, you have rocks from an unpolluted watershed, and on the other side, debris from the actual museum fire flood. I hope that my work inspires community dialogue about the community that we want to have. Specifically, I hope viewers are inspired to engage in the Flagstaff regional planning process, which is coming up now in 2023.
It is 100 paintings that I made in 100 consecutive days of 100 things that I was getting rid of as I was exploring an uncluttered life. And I was doing all of this while wearing one dress. I'll never be the minimalist that has 2 pairs of socks and no houseplants. But I can strive for an uncluttered life. But when you're getting rid of your belongings, a lot of times you're going to be getting rid of things that you really care for. And so I was thinking about what a cool thing to do would to be a painting of that object and then get rid of it. Because I spent several hours painting it, I felt like I have honored this object and now I'm letting it go. Sometimes I would be like, why do I still have this? And then other times they would bring up all kinds of emotions of the history of that item. I thought that it would be a really interesting experience to be getting rid of things while you're only wearing one thing. I worry about our society and its economy of consumption, and I feel that we're going to consume ourselves into oblivion. This group of 100 paintings are really happy little paintings, but they have a big message.
The main mural is called Journey of the Human Spirit, and we wanted to center the concept of journey, of traveling physically but also emotionally. And to have this journey about healing was a really emotional and poignant process to bring these 20-year-old paintings out and to say these are even more relevant now. Michael Cavaudi and Delbridge Haunani are the 2 painters. The murals were first exhibited in the Kiva Gallery in 2001, 20 years ago, and Mike and Del painted the Journey of the Human Spirit on movable canvases mounted on the walls in that Kiva Gallery so that you could experience it as if it was an ancient mural painting. Then we traveled it to the Dallas Museum of Art, and when it came back, we really wanted to open it up and not have it in that confined space. And then we had room to put the 2 additional paintings based on archaeological sources in the same gallery, so they dance with each other. And again, I'm just struck with how relevant this story is, that humanity just keeps putting itself through these conflicts of even relatives against relatives. And you're trying to work through these conflicts and come back to a place of balance and healing.
I had this wonderful opportunity to work with my friend Cut here and install a mural in his barber shop and his new beauty school. The first mural that I created, this revolves around his 12-year-old son. I wanted Junior's rendition to represent his Black culture, his Navajo culture, and the Apaches, which is who I am. but I also painted a rendition of his little daughter, Nana. I wanted to portray her on the wall so that when people enter the establishment, they can be reminded of their spirituality and freedom. But I wanted to capture the spirit of this little girl through the colors.
Barbering is art, right? So having that in our space means a lot because we are artists. It is just a lot of motivation in it on both sides. It motivates me every day to get to that next goal, open that next school because of my kids. Their faces that I see every day at the shop mean so much to me.
To me, I think about the diversity in the community. I think about what CUT does for his students and the demographics that come in there and are seeking trades. It was very important for me to do something for my community, to create that inspiration, to remind people about culture and who they are. Ultimately, I want to put smiles on people's faces and give them strength when they walk out of CUT's wonderful establishment.
My name is Will Ambrose. I'm a painter based out of Flagstaff. The project being recognized is called The Forest. This is a show about disappearance, a way of describing something to myself that needed to be explored, although I had no words for it, and largely still don't. For once, not to turn from the inevitability of personal grief, but to sit with it, allow it in, allow the unknown to become a guide. In the summer of 2017, I visited my grandmother, Dorothy, who had been placed in a memory-centered rest home focusing on treatment for Alzheimer's. It is not a disease that eats away at the mind, but rather one that covers over the mind's capacity for memory like wild growth. When all the experiences that go into forming a person disappear, what remains? My process began as I took previously completed works I wanted to keep and painted over them, and then I would see what came next. What emerged was forest, a setting for change, the subconscious transformation. Many times while painting over someone, some earlier memory, I'll feel connected with a person I've lost and feel that all over again. By taking something I cared about, my work of the last decade, and piece by piece giving it away to some unknown annihilation, I was reenacting a ritual. In the time of COVID, a massive shift has occurred, a disappearance of many things we thought were stable, and by doing the work, perhaps finding a new way forward.